Hello, I'm here to talk about coal, and specifically about one coal project in Colombia, because we know that this particular coal project in Colombia, Cerrejón, has provided Drax with coal in the past, and it's highly likely that it's going to carry on supplying Drax with coal. And we just heard that the whole purpose of going over to biofuels use for part of Drax's energy generation is to prolong its life. So it enables it to carry on burning coal for longer. So the supposedly green argument, which we know to be rubbish anyway, is doubly rubbish, because apart from being rubbish in its own right, it's enabling Drax to carry on burning climate-destroying coal. And burning coal doesn't only help destroy the climate, it helps destroy communities around the coal mines from which the coal comes. We have a long history of coal mining in this country, deep coal mining, where communities relied on mining and wanted the mining to carry on. One of the reasons that the Thatcher regime was able to destroy most of the coal mining industry in this country was the opening of the Cerrejón coal mine in northern Colombia in the early 1980s. And the opening and expansion of that mine has caused the forced displacement of numerous agricultural communities, some of them of indigenous Wayuu people and some of them of people of African descent. And it has proved a long struggle to get any kind of justice for those communities. At the beginning of mining there, people were just thrown off their land at the point of a gun. After years of struggle by communities assisted by lawyers, they managed to get some kind of paltry compensation for the disruption to their lives. And since a particularly destructive eviction that happened in the year 2000, after several London-listed mining companies had bought into the mine, the pace of the struggle of the communities and international allies has quickened, and so conditions for people relocated are now somewhat better than they used to be. But this is a mine that's owned by three huge mining companies, Anglo-American, BHP Billiton and Glencore Xstrata. They're all listed here in London on the London Stock Exchange, and Anglo-American has its headquarters here. And Anglo-American's having its annual general meeting tomorrow. And these companies were involved in the mine when the little village of Tobacco that I visited in 2000 was kicked out of its village and its houses demolished by bulldozers, assisted by hundreds of armed police and security guards. And they still don't have a new village to live in. Since that time, we and the communities have struggled so that communities get moved to new agricultural land, and now that's something that the company pretends that it's doing. But what happens is that villages are moved to areas where there's not enough agricultural land, or people lose hope and they say, okay, I'm going to give up farming now. So the company decides, okay, people have said they want to give up farming, so we don't need to provide so much land for them. We'll help them for a year or two with some kind of economic alternative. So people who've been used to doing farming try to learn some other living, and after a year or so, when the help is taken away, then they find they're really struggling. The really best relocation was of an indigenous community called Tamaquitos, where the strength and the unity of the community meant that they were moved to a site where they did have supposedly enough farmland to carry on their way of life. And now we've been getting reports that there's not enough shade in the place, and that there's so much wind that their crops can't grow well. So even that model relocation has not worked well. So here are communities that are financially poor but were culturally rich, being made culturally poor as well as financially poor by ill-conceived forced relocations to increase the profits of three massively profitable, huge London-listed mining companies. So opencast coal mining around the world to feed Drax and possibly other British power stations doesn't only have a climate impact, it has a direct, brutal human impact, destroying people's livelihoods, destroying people's communities, dividing people one against another, one family against another. And in Colombia and in so many other places, people are threatened if they oppose mining, threatened by people who perhaps are not employed by the mining companies but feel that they've got something to gain from mining going ahead. So opencast mining around the world to feed Drax and other such power stations wrecks communities and wrecks people's lives. And if you've got enough energy after today's demo to come to another one tomorrow, there'll be a demonstration outside the Queen Elizabeth II Conference Centre in Westminster from 1:15 to 2:30 before the Anglo-American AGM begins in that conference centre at 2:30. Thanks for listening and keep up the struggle against Drax, and let's hope it all drops to bits sooner rather than later.
Yeah.